Hi guys, this is Melissa from the House of Plaid Fuzz, and today I'm going to show you how to make a vegan seitan roast. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any of my new content, and if you're not, welcome back. Today I'm really excited to be participating in the Frugal Family Food Thanksgiving Marathon. This is put together by my friend Amanda from the Fundamental Home and Tangi from Freedom Homestead. They head up the Frugal Family Food Facebook group, which is huge. I think it has like over 45,000 members now. And it's all about helping families eat well on a budget. There's a different theme for each day, and today is main dishes. I'm gonna go ahead and put links to Amanda's channel, Tangi's channel, and the Frugal Family Food Facebook group in the description box below. Make sure you check those out and make sure that you join the Frugal Family Food Facebook group because there's going to be a lot of giveaways and stuff in conjunction with this marathon and you don't want to miss that. I'm also going to go ahead and link the other contributors who are showing you how to make different main dishes today in the description box below. So make sure you check all of those out. You're going to have a lot of great ideas for your Thanksgiving meal. So today I'm showing you how to make a 100% vegan main dish. I've been a vegetarian for like 8 or 9 years now, and I can attest that like nothing strikes fear into the heart of my friends and family members more than hearing that I'm coming over for dinner. Because unless you are a vegan, sometimes it's kind of confusing what they can actually eat or cannot eat. I know I've been to several holiday get-togethers where they're like, oh, we'll have food that you can eat, and then I got there and they didn't. So I've actually gotten in the habit of taking something myself. A lot of times I will make this seitan roast. This year I'm hosting Thanksgiving, so I'm going to make an option for people who eat meat, and then I'm also going to make this option for myself and anyone else who cares to partake. Now you can get just like a tofurkey or whatever from the grocery store, which is a good option. I think they're good. I think they're tasty, but they are really expensive. At my grocery store anyway, they are like $16 to $18 and you don't get very much food. The roast that I'm going to show you how to make today is probably less than half of that cost, but double the amount of food. So that fits into my budget a lot better. Seitan, however you want to say it, it is made out of vital wheat gluten. So if you have a gluten sensitivity, this is not going to be the recipe for you. I like seitan because I feel like it is the most satisfying of the different meat replacements. It's been a lot of years since I actually ate meat, so I can't say like, oh, it tastes like this or that. But like I said, it's just very satisfying. It's hearty enough to replace a meat dish. Now today I'm going to show you how to make this stuffed. You don't have to make it stuffed. You can just make a loaf with nothing in the middle. But seitan is very dense, so I like the stuffing just to kind of break it up a little and to add some juiciness on the inside. A couple of tips as you're making it, especially when you put it in the oven for the last 30 minutes. Once you slice it open, I feel like you can pretty visually see when it is cooked through. You don't want to overcook it or the outside will start to get pretty tough. Also, I generally like to serve this with a gravy, especially if I'm making it ahead and reheating it, just because the drier it gets, the outside can, like I said, get pretty tough. You could also substitute any stuffing on the inside of this. I'm just gonna show you one that's one of my favorites that I feel adds a really nice pop of flavor, plus it's super easy. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna make the stuffing here. I'm using these like portobello, they're like mini portobello mushrooms. They are sliced, but we're gonna chop these down into smaller pieces. We're gonna use about half of this container, and you can use like whatever kind of mushroom you want. I like these because they're pretty flavorful, but they don't cost an arm and a leg. First remove all the ends and just kind of rough pieces, and then we're gonna chop them down. Okay, these don't have to be perfect because as we saute them, they will shrink down. So for the actual roast, I'm going to use the Seitan recipe that is on my blog. I will link that below. We're going to do 1.5 cups of the Vital Wheat gluten, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, or I am using the coconut aminos. You can use liquid aminos, tamari, whatever you prefer that's like soy sauce. Okay, and then we're also going to do 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. This is really what gives it a good flavor, so don't skimp on that. We'll just mix these together. I like to mix by hand, just because if it gets too overworked, like with the KitchenAid mixer, it can kind of make the texture kind of funky. And then we're going to add a cup of water. And for seasoning, we're going to do 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of dried sage, and 1/2 teaspoon of thyme. Now that this is kind of coming together, I can see that it's a little bit dry. So I'm going to be super scientific and just add a hair more of the Vital Wheat gluten. You can kind of eyeball it. We don't want it too dry, but it needs to hold together in a loaf as well. Like I said, you want to incorporate everything, but don't overwork it. You can really see the gluten at work there. Okay, so now I'm going to just lightly flour my surface with the Vital Wheat gluten, which will also help with it being a little damp. This is really hard to roll out just because it is so like dense, but we're gonna do the best we can here. I'm gonna move this before I knock it off. You can see I'm not making a ton of progress there, but eventually it will flatten out somewhat. If you can get this in a nice square shape, that is awesome. Like I said, it's tough enough to roll out that I'm generally content with whatever shape I end up with, whether it's round or rectangle, whatever. Just kind of pulling some of those fibers apart a little bit because it's a little tough. If I was a little more talented, maybe I could like toss this like pizza, but as this is supposed to be an instructional video and not a comedic one, I will refrain. Okay, I think that's about as flattened out as I'm gonna get it. Spoon our stuffing in here. And just roll it up. We're losing a little stuffing on this end, but we'll just shove that back in there a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna wrap it in some aluminum foil. I generally kind of try to avoid aluminum foil because, you know, it's aluminum touching my food, but this is something, I don't really know what a good like replacement would be, so we're just gonna go with it. So we kind of wrap it into our loaf shape, and now we are going to steam it for 60 minutes. Okay, so now I'm gonna use my Instant Pot to steam. If you don't have an Instant Pot, I used a rice cooker for years and years to make this. That works just fine. My rice cooker would only go up to 30 minutes, so I would have to repeat the cycle, but it works. I have my trivet thing in the Instant Pot, and there's some water in there. I'm just going to sit my loaf in there. Make sure my vent is covered. Steam. Oops, for 60 minutes. Okay, so this is done steaming. You don't actually have to let it sit for 4 minutes. It just took me a second to get the camera set back up. Sometimes I like to just throw a towel over my valve so I'm not steaming my cabinets and stuff up here. And I put about a cup of water in there, so hopefully this doesn't go for too long here. Okay. Now you want to be careful pulling this out. Obviously it's going to be hot. If you had tongs, you could use tongs. I do not, so just use a towel here. Okay, so you can see here, it expands a little as it cooks, and it's partially cooked. You can see it's starting to brown there, but we're gonna finish it up in the oven, just to kind of, just so it's not quite as spongy, basically. So, I mean, don't burn yourself. Obviously, let this cool. This foil is not that warm. So, wrap that up pretty tightly. We don't want it drying out in the oven. I have this on a baking sheet. I put some parchment paper down just because in case it would happen to gush out a little bit, I don't want a huge mess to clean up. I use these pre-cut parchment paper. I mean, maybe that's like first world lazy, but I just find that makes it so much easier. All right, so I'm gonna pop this in the oven, a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 30 more minutes. This is gonna be a little, that's not too bad, a little toasty. Again, don't burn yourself. But you can see that just browned it up nicely. I'm gonna let that cool for a few minutes and then we'll slice it up and see how it looks. All right, I'm gonna slice this open. You can see it's really juicy on the inside, and that is pretty much thanks to that stuffing. It smells so good. Oh yeah, good stuff. Now you can make this ahead and keep it in the fridge for up to 3 days. And I would suggest serving it with a gravy, especially if you do make it ahead and put it in the fridge, just because it is so dense. this seitan part is so dense. If it gets dried out, it's kind of a mouthful. I'm going to be making like a vegan mushroom gravy. I will probably use the rest of the mushrooms out of that package. And maybe I'll put a video of that up later in the week. But there you have it, the stuffed vegan seitan roast. All right, so there you have it. This particular recipe has kind of a long cook time with the steaming and then putting it in the oven. But as far as actual time, you know, making it, it's super easy and you almost can't screw it up. And if you have any leftovers of this roast, it's great to like slice thin and put in sandwiches, or you can even dice it up and throw it in a stir fry. If you're like me, I like to see the recipe written out. So I'm gonna go ahead and link the actual recipe for the seitan from my blog in the description box below. Also, don't forget to check out the playlist so you can see the rest of the Thanksgiving recipes, and don't forget to join the Frugal Family Food Facebook group. Thanks so much for watching and have a happy Thanksgiving.